essentially you gotta fill out the paperwork and show up.
Get to see the
They was
two.
There was a couple of them.
I guess
too.
some people might.
I'd like to call the July 13th public hearing to order at 6 p.m. Starting with roll call.
McKeever.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Mead. Here. Trucca.
Here.
Vogt.
Here.
Allset.
Here.
We also have with us the zoning administrator, Mr. Landyn Hill. Mark McKeever is the planning committee chair, and law director Rob Ratliff's not here. This public hearing has been called to consider a proposed amendment to the Bucyrus City Zoning Ordinance per the request of the Bucyrus City Council Platting Committee. Under consideration at this meeting is 1, amending Bucyrus Codified Ordinance 1157.02, official zoning district map to redesignate undeveloped properties on Kincora Drive as follows. A, from apartment residential district, AR, to urban neighborhood residential district, R3. Notice for this public hearing was published in the Bucyrus Telegraph Forum on June 9th, 2020. Today, anyone interested in expressing his or her opinions about the proposed changes may do so by approaching the podium. Each is asked to state his or her name, address, and whether he or she is a proponent or opponent of the proposed changes. 5 minutes will be allotted each guest. Everyone is asked to keep in mind that the public hearing is being held only to share information. No decisions will be made at this time, and all information presented this evening will be considered by the Platting Committee at a later date. All references regarding the zoning laws are from the amended City of Bucyrus Zoning Ordinance, effective April 19th, 2002. Amend 1157.02 entitled Official Zoning District Map. Bucyrus City Planning Commission recommended in a letter to council dated May 19th, 2020 that it was favorable to amending section 1157.02. We did not get any communications. I guess I'm gonna let Planning Committee reported favorably to Bucyrus City Council on June 16th, 2020 to the amendment proposal. This time we will let the zoning administrator speak as he knows more about everything that's being proposed.
Sure. I think this one's all still relatively fresh in everybody's mind. We haven't seen quite the delay we had with the more recent zoning change requests. But at a high level, we're looking at Kincora. Up there you can see that's the current zoning of the area. It's currently zoned apartment residential. The property owners would like to develop that remaining undeveloped land there with single-family homes, and that is not a permitted use in the apartment residential district. So they have applied for a zoning amendment application to change that zoning to a zoning designation that allows for the single-family homes as a permitted use. If we take simply the application as it is, this is what would be the result if approved. R3 would be changed of the remaining undeveloped portions, and AR would remain for the others. It's been presented as, you know, two options, whether to keep it that way or just to go ahead and rezone the entire area as R3 instead of having those two little islands of apartment residential. So if it is rezoned to R3, there will be a subdivision revision that will have to go in front of the Planning Commission. At that point, it would be shown how the lots would be drawn, how they would be divided. They would have to meet the development standards for the R3 zoning district. Based on conversations I've had with McKeever and Associates, It sounds like they may even exceed those, but they would be held to the development standards of R3 zoning districts in terms of lot width, setbacks, those types of things. Essentially where we left it, I think at the last planning committee hearing, was there were to be conversations between the owners of the undeveloped property and the homeowners associations, each of them out there at Kincora. And that's kind of, to me, that's kind of what this portion of the process was hinging on at that point.
Okay, we're gonna go to the, does anybody have any questions for Landyn on council? What's the lot width?
The minimum lot width for the R3 is 50 feet for a single family home.
And because the other people are in a homeowners association, are they just kind of grandfathered in if they change everything to R3?
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
Yes, they would be grandfathered in.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, Mr.
Are there any other platted changes to the traffic flow? Is there any platted spurs to come off of that, or is that just simply?
I think that was the end of it, yep.
Any other questions for Landyn by the council members? Planning committee chair, Mr. McKeever, could you comment?
I don't have any comments. I got the feeling that most of the residents that are currently there are in somewhat of agreement with what the developer was doing and communicated. I didn't get any real negative feedback from any of them from the last meeting. So if there is, please let us know what your thoughts are and concerns. That's all I have, that's all I got. Thank you, Les.
Okay, at this time, we will let the visitors that are a proponent of the change come to the podium and state your name and address and any comments you want to make at this time.
Good evening. My name is Deanna Williams. I live at 122 Kincora Drive. Thank you for giving me another opportunity to come before you and provide input on the possible rezoning of the villas at Whetstone. Tonight I have a few points and questions that I would like to bring up for discussion and maybe confirmation. I wanted to start out by saying that after being able to study further and understand better the proposed rezoning of the villas at Whetstone from AR to R3, the current residents of the neighborhood are in complete support of this change in zoning. We firmly believe that the R3 zoning requirements, coupled with the plans presented by the landowners and home builder, will allow for single-family homes to be built on the remaining lots that will preserve, if not enhance, the overall look and feel of the neighborhood and sense of safety and security that we have come to enjoy and value. With that said, there are a few specific items in the R3 zoning requirements that we would like to see clarification on. First, there is a requirement, this is probably for you, or maybe you, Lynn. First, there is a requirement in the R3 zoning description that all garages shall be located in the backyard. We assume that this language is due to R3 zoning being targeted for new construction in older areas where alleys are present. But given that there are no alleys in the villas at Whetstone, we would like to see this requirement be formally waived since all garages will be front-facing. It's formally replacing this requirement, one that specifies front-facing garage is something that can and will be done as part of the rezoning agreement.
And we spoke about this.
We did, and I just wanted to confirm that.
And that portion of the R3 code, I don't believe would be pertinent in this situation. It's specifically targeted at presently undeveloped areas outside the older portion of the city that would be developed. And then as you go down through there, it's talking about, developments containing more than 10 dwellings and that type of thing. But I don't necessarily think that it applies in this situation. And, you know, in a typical R3 setting, if someone came up and wanted to build a garage and they wanted to put it in the side yard instead of the rear, they would be allowed to do so. They certainly wouldn't be held to this new development standard, provided they had the appropriate side yard setbacks and room on the lot to develop it. So I don't think that that necessarily applies in this situation. However, if you wanted, you know, the complete security of it, it would either take some kind of modification or clarification of the R3 zoning code, or to be built into the agreement that you have with the property
Okay.
owners and developers. You could build that into the existing agreement with color scheme or whatever you guys are going for,
Right.
and say that we don't want the detached garages in the rear.
Yeah, we're good. As long as that's how it works.
Would that also be subject to just freestanding garages, as an attached garage would be considered part of the home structure?
I was thinking too, so.
Yeah, probably-
Well, the
probably
attached
so.
garage is part of the home structure.
Correct, so I
It
almost think that's
probably
a moot
is.
point.
Accessory structures typically are referring to a detached garage, and an attached garage would be subject to the full setbacks that are required, so yeah, I would say that's
Okay.
probably true.
Great, okay. Second, there is a requirement for sidewalks to be built as part of new constructions in areas zoned R3. And we would like to confirm that the lots with the new homes would have sidewalks that connect to and be consistent with any existing sidewalks. It is worth noting that some of the existing condos, so the condos up front when you first come in, they don't have sidewalks. That ordinance was not in play when they were built, and they would like to remain that way. But the new homes, because the back five do have the sidewalks, you know, that would be part of the zoning, correct, where the sidewalks would be built?
The one you're specifically citing, I think, falls under that same heading that we were talking about.
Mhm.
But there is a portion under our streets code that does allude to that, and I don't have it off the top of my head at the moment. It's outside the zoning code, but there is something in the streets code that refers to sidewalks. I would have to look into that a little further. And when they, in between phase 2 and phase 3, getting approval from planning commission,
Yeah.
like you said, phase 1 may have been before this was put into place. Phase 2 may have came after. That's why you see sidewalks up there.
That go
So
nowhere.
a little more research into how that all went down and how sidewalks were required on the north side as
Right,
opposed to the south. We could probably find something, but again, that probably could be something that just for safety's sake of you guaranteeing it, you could also build that into the agreement as well, I would
Okay.
assume.
okay. Third, there is a requirement for streetlights to be added as part of new constructions in areas that are zoned R3. While we are not opposed to streetlights being installed, we feel that standard streetlights would significantly detract from the overall look and feel of the neighborhood that we are striving to preserve and protect. As such, it is our expectation, as it always has been, that any streetlights installed at the villas at Whetstone would be the same as or similar to those already installed in our sister neighborhood, the Reserve at Whetstone. Of course, it would go without saying, but I'll mention it anyway, that the electric bill for all common lighting in the villas would be paid by the city as is currently done at the Reserve. Can we get confirmation of that? So just let me give you a little side note. For some reason, we have entrance lights into the villas. We pay the electric for that, and we have no street lights, so to speak. We have a lamp post in front of our homes. But the Reserve has entry lights as well, and they have a different style. They're not the big overhead, like one down Hopley or something, that are more suited to the neighborhood, and they don't pay for their electric at all, not out front and I'm not sure why it's different. I don't, but,
I wish I knew. That's a new one on me. Looks like Mr. McCaver may have some insight on that.
Yeah, Mr. B now picked those out when that development was built over there at the Reserve, and I don't remember whether they bought that as part of the development cost and that was rolled into the price of your lots or whatever, but I do know that he was instrumental in getting those installed, and they actually screw in, they got a screw-in anchor that goes down in the ground on those. But Kevin was instrumental in those being put in because it wasn't offered by the city. And I do not know, you have a different electric company than they have over there also, I believe, because the electric line, the territorial line goes through the reserve at Whetstone. Part of it is covered by AEP and part of it's by Ohio Edison, or whatever the current names is, years do, yeah.
Yeah.
But I do know it went up through there at an angle and they tried to establish and get that all as one entity, but neither electric company was willing to budge. So,
Where was that you were citing that it was a requirement to have the streetlights?
There's a requirement for streetlights to be added as part of new construction in areas that are zoned R3. I don't have the actual. And if not, if that won't happen, then would it be possible to get a waiver for the requirement to install streetlights? Because each existing condo does have a lamp, and then Monica, we agreed that all the new homes would have a lamp as well, which should be sufficient lighting for the, once there's all those homes in there, rather than installing the standard streetlights.
That we may have to ask our city attorney to
Right.
I was gonna
clarify.
say, yeah, maybe the law director or
I
service
can't
director may
answer, I
have.
don't
Okay.
know the legalities of.
We'll
I
come-
mean, I don't see why it wouldn't hurt to have some form of lighting.
Right.
That would conform with your development there.
Right.
I mean, cause it is one street.
Yes, just goes
And
around.
if we'd have to talk with
Okay.
Mr. Ratliff and see how they
Yeah.
would have to do it.
And we were talking, and technically, I don't even feel like, I'm gonna take these sheeters off and make it crazy. We had spoke about it, some of the residents out there, and I think even, the inside of the circle there, if there was if there is a corner of a circle, one on each 4 ends of around would be, and then you have the entry lights, and then everybody has their posts in the front, and so I don't even think it needs to be every 3 houses or something of that nature. So if they are a little different or whatever, it wouldn't be many.
What kind of streetlights are on the Whetstone or the
They're
sister?
kinda like the downtown lights.
Yeah, they almost look like lamp posts.
Acorn,
Okay.
Yeah,
Underground wiring.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Those are the
so
ones you want?
that's what we would prefer, or something similar, just not those big ones that you have, like if you're driving, those big industrial that are gonna light us up like, at night where it's like crazy bright.
The only other neighborhood I can think of is out there around Hillcrest. And I'd go out there and look at what theirs look like, and I can't think of it off the
Right.
top of my head.
Brentwood maybe too, I don't know what they have on Brentwood.
On
I
Brentwood?
think you're correct.
Okay, so and this you'll be happy to hear, it brings me to my last point of discussion. The residents at the villas of Whetstone were asked to decide between all lots in the neighborhood being rezoned R3, including those condos already built, or rezoning only the unimproved lots and leaving the condos AR. After giving this careful thought and consideration, and this is gonna be up to you, of course, but this is just our take. We have decided that we would like to ask the committee to rezone all of the lots in the villas at Whetstone to R3, including those owned by the condo associations, with the understanding that there will be no changes to the existing associations, CCs and Rs and bylaws, etc. for the existing condos, basically grandfathering us in. And I think it would just make it, and maybe someday in the future when we're all long gone, somebody might say, well, they want to disband the association, they're already zoned to do such, and they don't have to come back, and do this.
That's nice.
So, okay. I know my 5 minutes are up.
That's okay.
In closing, I want to mention that this rezoning effort has been my first experience of participating in the public decision-making process in Bucyrus. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention how well this process has worked. It afforded the residents of our neighborhood an opportunity and a venue to express our opinions and concerns. And throughout the process, we not only felt like we were heard, we also felt like what we said actually mattered. And for all of this, I want to say thank you on behalf of our neighborhood. I also want to express our sincere appreciation to those who have worked cooperatively and collaboratively to reach a solution that is acceptable to all concerned, with special thanks to Monica, Sam, and Tim, who's not here. We honestly didn't know what to expect when all this started, but you three, he's not here, but took the time to talk to us, help us understand your vision, and to listen to our concerns and ideas. As a result, we are now very excited about the plans that are in place, and we look forward to working together with you as the rest of our neighborhood is built in a way that we will all be proud of. Thank you for listening again.
Is there any other proponents of the change that come to the podium?
I was trying to look through the top of it. Yeah.
Hearing none, we will move to opponents that are against it. Is there any opponents that would want to speak at the public hearing? Please come to the podium. Hearing none, need a motion to refer this proceeding subject back to the Platting Committee for further study.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The Platting Committee meeting will be held on July 23rd, 2020 in council chambers. We do not have any members to excuse because the only one that's not here resigned. So need a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
So moved.
All in favor? say
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned 6:21 p.m.
Now, anytime any of you have any questions, feel free to contact